Welcome back to my channel, Master Stoic. There comes a moment in a man's life, usually somewhere around his late 30s or early 40s when everything changes. Not outside, inside. It's not about losing hair or gaining a few pounds. It's not about birthday numbers or the number of candles on a cake. It's about a shift, a deep internal shift where he stops performing and starts becoming. He starts to feel it in the silence between conversations, in how little he cares about being right all the time, in how quickly he sees through small talk and fake smiles, in how deeply he craves peace, not chaos, not attention, not adrenaline. This is the beginning of real masculine power. And the crazy thing, most men don't even realize it. They chase youth, they panic, they dye their hair. They try to hang with younger guys, impress younger girls dressed like they're 25 again. They lose themselves trying to fight a clock that doesn't need to be fought. Because the truth is this, when a man enters his 40s, he doesn't lose power. He gains it if he's paying attention. Because at this age, you've lived. You've loved and lost. You've been broken and rebuilt. You've worked jobs that drained your soul, made money that didn't matter, given your time to people who never deserved it. And through all of it, you've sharpened, refined, quietly forged a deeper version of yourself. A version that doesn't chase. A version that doesn't need applause. A version that doesn't explain himself to people who don't matter. And that version of you, that version is dangerously attractive to women, especially the kind who've also matured past the noise. Because real women, evolved women, emotionally intelligent women aren't looking for a man who's the loudest in the room. They're looking for the one who doesn't need the room. The one who listens more than he speaks, who holds his frame, who stays grounded when others react, who carries strength not in his flex but in his restraint. That man is magnetic. And when you're over 40 and you embody this kind of presence, women don't just notice you, they feel you. You become the calm in their storm, the clarity in their confusion, the stillness their soul didn't even realize it was searching for. This isn't about being flashy. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being rooted. And when a man is rooted in who he is, he becomes 40 times more attractive than any guy chasing external validation. So, if you're a man over 40 or approaching it, understand this. Your power is just beginning, but only if you stop running from your age and start owning it. Because age alone doesn't make you irresistible. Embodied maturity does. Discipline does. Stillness does. Wisdom does, presence does. And those qualities, they're not found in gyms or in clubs or in apps. They're earned through fire. And brother, if you're still standing, you've already walked through more fire than you realize. Now, it's time to use it. Because the man who masters his 40s becomes a force of nature in his 50s and a legend in his legacy. So, let's talk about what separates the attractive few from the forgettable many. The 7 traits that make men over 40 dangerously magnetic to women who actually matter. Let's begin. When you're in your 20s, you believe that being attractive is about trying harder. Dress sharper, beak smoother, get bigger muscles, make more money, be seen, be loud, be everywhere. But as you get older, as life begins to humble you, you realize something quietly powerful. The most attractive men in any room are the ones who don't need the room. They're not posturing, they're not chasing, they're not running after the approval of women because they've learnt that true connection doesn't come from being chosen, comes from being centered. Now, let me be clear. If you're over 40, the world will try to tell you that you've peaked, that your value is declining, that women don't look your way like they used to, that you're past your prime. But the world is dead wrong. Because if you know how to cultivate presence, if you know how to command space without forcing anything, if you carry your age like armor, not baggage, then you become irresistible in a way younger men can't touch. See women who have done their own inner work, the ones who are tired of games, tired of emotional volatility, tired of little boys in grown men's bodies. They don't want the hottest guy. They want the man who knows who he is, the man who walks into a room and doesn't need to look around for validation, the man who can handle her emotions without shrinking, the man who doesn't flinch when life gets hard because he's been through storms most can't imagine and came out sharper. That's you. If you're willing to stop apologizing for your maturity and start leveraging it, because being over 40 isn't a weakness. It's your greatest strength. You've lived enough to know what matters and what doesn't. You've failed enough to know. Longer be afraid of failing. You've been ignored, rejected, betrayed, tested, and you're still here. And all of that's attractive. That's rare. That's the kind of energy that doesn't scream. It whispers and people still listen. So, here's the reality. You don't need to look younger. You need to stand taller. You don't need to chase women. You need to embody a life they want to be a part of. And that starts when you understand the real signals of attraction, the kind rooted in masculine energy, not teenage tactics. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 powerful traits that make men over 40 times more attractive to emotionally intelligent women. Not because of tricks, not because of hacks, but because of depth, presence, and the kind of grounded energy that only comes from living with Stoic fire. This isn't about becoming someone new. This is about stripping away who you're not and stepping fully into the man you were always meant to be. So, take a breath, drop your shoulders, and lock in. Because what you're about to hear might not just change how women see you. It might just change how you see you. Let's begin. 1. He carries stillness like a weapon. You'll know him the moment he walks in, not because he's the loudest, not because he's the best dressed, but because he's unbothered. In a room full of noise, his stillness becomes a force. In a world addicted to reaction, he responds with precision. And women feel it in their nervous system because it calms them. Younger men often radiate chaos. They fidget, chase, overtalk, compete. They try to dominate space with ego. But a man over 40 who has done the work, he doesn't try to dominate the space. He anchors it. Stillness doesn't mean silence means certainty. It's the quiet presence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything, because his very being is the proof. That kind of stillness doesn't come from pretending. It comes from walking through fire, from surviving betrayal, from rebuilding yourself without applause. And that makes you magnetic, because women, especially high-quality women, are deeply sensitive to energy. They don't want excitement. They want containment. A man who can hold her emotion without absorbing it. A man who isn't disturbed by her storm because he is the mountain. When you've trained yourself to be still, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you become the man she doesn't want to run from. You become the man she can rest with. And in a world full of men trying to impress, stillness wins. 2. He leads without needing control. Leadership isn't about barking orders. It's about embodied clarity. A man over 40 who truly leads doesn't need to say, "I'm in charge." He just moves with purpose. He doesn't waste time in indecision. He sets the tone without micromanaging. And women feel safer in that presence. Not because he dominates her, but because he doesn't hesitate. Most women are tired of men who can't decide what they want. They're exhausted by men who collapse the moment pressure hits. They're repelled by men who talk like kings but act like boys. But a man who leads, He knows where he's going. He's open to feedback, but he's not confused. He makes decisions not to control others, but to serve them. Because his leadership isn't ego-driven, it's value-driven. He doesn't lead to feel powerful. He leads because he knows what happens when no one does, and he refuses to let chaos win. He opens doors not because she can't, but because he wants to set the rhythm. He makes plans not because she's helpless, but because she's worth the effort. He protects her energy not because she's weak, but because she's strong. That kind of leadership is rare. And when a woman experiences it, especially from a man over 40, she feels the difference. 3. He's selective with his attention. You know what's more attractive than attention? Discernment. Because a man who gives his attention to everyone is seen by no one. But a man who is present fully and yet selective with his time, energy, and gaze, that man becomes unforgettable. He doesn't flirt with everyone. He doesn't scroll like an addict. He doesn't chase validation from strangers. He chooses his words. He values his silence. He gives his full focus when he's with someone, but he's not available to just anyone. Women are drawn to this because when you're selective with your energy, a woman doesn't just feel admired, she feels chosen. And there's no deeper feminine response than being truly chosen by a high-value man. She can feel the difference between a man who gives his attention recklessly and a man who offers it intentionally. One creates attraction. The other builds obsession. 4. He's mastered the art of presence. Presence isn't just being in the room. It's being so tuned in, so locked into the moment that a woman forgets about the rest of the world when she's with you. When a man over 40 has cultivated presence, he doesn't just hear,